You are listening to Beyond the Verse, a Star Citizen podcast. A show dedicated to Cloud Imperium games, Star Citizen, and Squadron 42. Whether you fight, explore, unite, and/or trade, we bring you news, updates, interviews, reviews, and analysis. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a pour of Radegast, and join us as we go Beyond the Verse.
Launch sequence activated.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Beyond the Verse, a Star Citizen podcast. I'm your host, Sulyce, and this is episode 73. I'm calling the final stretch in Star Citizen. On today's episode, segments include the launch of the new RSI website and the actual launcher itself, and our reactions to what that user interface means to our everyday life in Star Citizen, especially for content creators who rely on that website for information. It's been very difficult to refresh my way of thinking and how I approach information. So that's been fun. We'll go over the CitizenCon goodies pack and what's in it, maybe a little bit of drama that came with it, the latest patch notes with a potential tech preview channel release for today, for this Friday. We'll cover the roadmap update, the subscription promotions. Jumptown is back in, not the newest, right? It's not Blockade Runner, but Jumptown is in for org play and for group play. We will watch the Inside Star Citizen Alpha 4.0 Creatures and Characters video together. That's about 17 minutes, but as we get closer to 4.0, it's fun to dive into the aesthetics and the different interactions that we will have going into that patch. And then we will end with the Star Citizen monthly report. So no lore deep dive. I actually want to read verbatim, word for word, the Star Citizen monthly report. We are so close. And one of the reasons why I'm calling this episode the final stretch is because all indicators point to the finality of Squadron 42 being available soon, right? And this is all soon with the trademark next to it. I get it. But we are closer to server meshing. We have the RMQ tech preview channel that I just mentioned that is potentially around the corner. Once we get server meshing out, Pyro's ready to go, and I will debate that with anybody. Pyro is done, like the actual locations, the people, all of that has been complete. Now the tech behind it, the game loops and everything else is what we're pending, right? Again, all indicators point towards some good light at the end of the tunnel. Now, the road to get there is going to be dramatic. The road to get there is going to either fire up the community in a good way, in a positive, hype, copium type way, but I fear it's going to be more on the opposite end of that pendulum. Swing over to the salties, right? Those that are just mad at CIG. So we'll get into a little bit of those dynamics for this episode, but I hope this finds everybody well. It's been a short work week here in the United States. On Monday we had Labor Day. So I hope if you were in the United States and you had the privilege of having a 3-day weekend, I would love to hear what you did on your 3-day weekend. Really no surprise here. Again, I'm a father of an 8-year-old son, 5-year-old daughter. Not a lot more than visiting pools and watching movies, like kid movies at home, and so nothing really exciting on my end. But we did have friends come over. I barbecued in the backyard. It's been nice, but that means a short work week, and that also means kind of a short week engaged in Star Citizen. So we're actually going to be watching the Inside Star Citizen video together for the first time. I haven't had the chance to go into that. I also haven't been able to read the Star Citizen monthly report. So for the monthly report, I will be reacting real time to that as well as we read it. So without further ado, let's get into the segments. But before we do, I have to right some wrongs. I told my organization last night I would do this, and so I'm going to lead by doing this and getting this out of the way. So back 2 episodes ago is when it first started. We were talking with Ollie and we were talking with Space Tomato on my podcast, episode 71, and we brought up Terra as a system. And for some reason, and I have the reason, I'll show you in a second, but for some reason, my brain associated Terra with the planet Earth. Now, again, here's the why. I already did all the pre-work here, so I'm sharing my screen for those of you on YouTube. Terra, by definition, it's a land or territory, but then that number 2 bullet point right here, in science fiction, it is the planet Earth. In many, like, I knew I wasn't an idiot. Like, I knew that it was referenced as Earth in many other platforms, and so I'm not too far off. But like, let's just keep going. Star Citizen is very heavy. The lore is very heavy with terraforming, and I've always approached terraforming as making a planet Earth-like, right? So making the atmosphere, like, conditions Earth-like, where you could, live without an exosuit, for example. So let's just define terraforming. And again, this is Google. I'm not like making this crap up. So here's terraform in a dictionary, right? It says to transform a planet so as to resemble the Earth, especially so that it can support human life. So listen, I'm not crazy, guys. I heard Terra and I immediately went, oh yeah, Earth. How would you like to live on Earth? Yada, yada. Earth is in the Sol system. And shame on me, because my damn organization is called Soul Provision. The whole premise of my naming convention is that, provisions for the soul, and we hail from our Earth origin, right? Which is the Sol system. All right, so that's number 1. Let's just get that out of the way. Earth is in the Sol system, has nothing to do with Terra. All right, number 2. Cool. I pissed off a lot of people in my org. Clearly, because last night's org night, I got lit up. And so let's just go back to last week's episode. Let's talk about my reaction to the paint conversation with, what was it? Was it the ship showdown? Yeah, it was my reactions to the ship showdown, saying that paints aren't really that big of a deal. It doesn't really drive, a lot of decision making in my mind. But I made the comment that, like, nobody really cares about paint. I spend more time seeing other ships in their base colors and really never, in custom paint. Okay, so I got lit up. Let me clarify. So Thursday night is 2 hours of an org night where me and a good group, like 13, 15, sometimes 20, whenever the event is right. We have a good group of org members that get together. And of course, we are all concierge level. We're all in this like game, very, very committed. The goods and the bads, right? We suffer together. That's our bond. Our bond is mutual suffrage. Of course they have paints. Like, of course, we got like professional screenshotters out there that are able to manipulate, filters and make things look amazing in this game. So of course they're going to wear their subscription gear. Of course they're going to put their liveries on their ships. I meant no insult, and I don't think they took it as. I think it's fun. I think it's fun in games. I think it's tongue in cheek. But what I was referencing was the other 6 days of the week that I get into Star Citizen, and I'm either flying around, Orison, Seraphim Station, but even when PvP happens around Grimhax, our planet side, like every ship I interact with is the base. And so that's what I'm kind of going off of. Even your crash sites where you see where a PvP battle has happened, and you know that because you can see some of the dunnage or the pieces of the ship are they're just different, right? If it's a deliberate crash site, like a derelict site, that looks a lot different from actual player vehicles that have crashed. Those don't have special liveries. So I maintain my stance that it feels like the majority of the community doesn't care about liveries. It doesn't drive them necessarily to vote, in my opinion. But of course, in our engaged organization, you would have a lot of liveries, a lot of customization, a lot of upgrading of ships, a lot of subscription gear and exosuits and etc. Right? So, okay, I don't want to belabor that. I want to right the wrong or clarify my statements. And with that, I think that's a good transition into our
incoming message.
Okay, so before we actually get into this You know what's funny? I just X'd out of my screen. Give me a second. Before we get into from the community, the emails and the polls and the Q&A or the comments, it is the first recording of the month, which means we've got our lovely show review. So the month of August, this is the Beyond the Verse Star Citizen podcast performance review. I do this once a month, and I always reiterate, this is more about you than it is about me. I love talking. Clearly, I have a podcast. I love being able to present the weekly news and reviews and analysis and all of that. I love doing that. I love my organization. I love being part of that sole provision effort. But like these numbers, I mean, this is all you. This is all you, whether you're listening or viewing. So to date, our podcast has 33.8 thousand plays. That's a lot of listens. That's a lot of listens. So you're hearing me hate Drake. That's a lot of people listening to me hating Drake, for me misleading on Terra and Sol and where Earth is going to be. My hatred towards people that like libraries, clearly. But I want to thank everybody, the 33.8K listens. In the month of August alone, we have a total of 572 followers over on Spotify, 17.5K impressions. We are over 70 countries. That's 70 countries and across 8 platforms. I could stop there. I literally could stop there and be completely content with the way the podcast is going and how you are receiving this product, right? And we can debate, actually, I will go into this a little bit. We can debate whether or not that justifies being called a content creator. I'm not creating anything new, theoretically, right? I take a week's worth of information, I digest it, I create maybe what I think an hour's worth of entertainment should look like for you, and that is the product that I create. Is it content creation? I don't know. Maybe that's another question I ask in my comments, but regardless, I enjoy what I do. I don't consider myself a content creator, but I consider myself a podcaster, and I hope this gets to you in an entertaining way, and I think those numbers are proof that it is. Going over to YouTube, so not only can you listen to our podcast, you can actually watch the podcast. That's 747 subscribers. We saw a huge jump really in the last 2 weeks, and thanks to Ollie and thanks to Space Tomato, them being on the show, of course, will always spike that engagement. But 747 subscribers for the lifetime of the show. 714.4 thousand impressions, 41.5 thousand views, 3,000 watch hours, and the YouTube channels across 24 countries. So thank you for those that watch. I'm not going to get into the Twitter followers, the TikTok, the Instagrams. I'm not going to get into that. I think we've done enough with the podcast and the YouTube information. But again, just want to take a minute to say thank you and looking forward to the next month as we get ready for 4.0. We can debate whether or not that's happening in the next couple months or not, but to the next great adventure. There we go. Now to the polls. At the end of each episode, we go over to Spotify and we ask a poll, and we open up the comment section for anything that crosses your mind that you want me to say or me to address. So we asked the question, which faction in Pyro are you leaning more towards? And that's based off of last week's Inside Star Citizen, where they talk about the headhunters and the citizens of prosperity. So out of 7 votes, we had 6 go for citizens of prosperity and 1 go for the headhunters. Over to the comments section. And this is also kind of annoying. I have to actually click see more on every single one of these posts before I can read it to you. It's not very user friendly. All right. Sean Donovan writes, I would love to see more lore-based posts, especially on the relations between the manufacturers and Drake. The serial number is a unique number assigned to your purchased ship that they believe. P.S. Do you get paid by Spotify Premium members when they watch your videos? Been curious for a while now. Okay, and I actually will address line by line. So the reference to the lore-based posts for the last several episodes I've alluded to. I've kind of previewed that I want to get into the lore of the ship manufacturers. I do. The moment I want to, though, like 324 drops, or we have like a monthly report, and I don't necessarily want this targeted hour podcast to become 2 to 3 hours. And I also have to worry about like my family life and work life, and that takes a lot of work. I'm not going to half-ass a lore deep dive and say, well, here's what the Galactopedia says. Anybody can do that. I want to go to many different sources that are RSI, direct. I want to go to many resources and pull it all together to talk about people and whys and hows. And I want to really produce something that's really nice for y'all. So I'm not going to half-ass it. I'm going to keep postponing for the sake of brevity, for the sake of time. I want this to be a good, digestible podcast for you. But also, where I work for Amazon, we're queuing up for Q4, which is our peak season. I want to be busy for the next several weeks. So I need to probably also quiet down on how much I promise about lore deep dives. I'm working on RSIs. I think that's almost a finished product. And when I'm done with the RSI deep dive, I will absolutely produce that. But that will not be a weekly thing. I cannot commit to a weekly thing. Sean writes, the serial number is a unique number assigned to your purchased ship. That goes back to the Peregrine. We were reading the Peregrine's description, and it said one of the benefits or one of the perks of getting the Peregrine is that you would have your own, serial number. I mean, I know you're right. I absolutely know you're right. Every ship in the game has its own, license plate number or serial number, whatever you want to call it. I guess my question is, will that serial number, in its uniqueness, will that serial number attach itself visibly on the outside of your library? Right, kind of like how a name does. It's like how you can name your 600i, you can name your 890 jump. Does this kind of replace, that naming convention where the serial number becomes that name and it's actually visible on the outside of your ship? I think that was my line of questioning. Is like, what does that mean? We go back to object container streaming, one of the first pillars of tech, and everything in the game has a serial number. I'm just curious what that means visibly. Like, even when you serialize a cargo box, does one day in the future, does that serial number become an actual license plate number on that cargo box? That'd be kind of cool, right? But I guess what's the question, or what's the vision of the future for unique numbers? And then, do you get paid by Spotify? So yes and no. Well, I guess yes. Yes. So it's an impression thing. So the number of impressions, the click-throughs to the impressions, the actual listens, like each one of those get put into kind of an algorithm, and you get monetarily compensated. It's not much. I mean, it really isn't much. What really supports is the listener support, and we have eight listeners who support this financially with their disposable income. That is straight to me, right? That there's no pass through, or it's straight pass through from those that support the show directly to me. That's how I really make quote unquote money when it comes to podcasting. And so blessings to those that do support and do financially support me. It goes directly back into the show, whether it's product value, recapping, editing, or like the actual material you see here, right? The microphones, the Go XLR that needs to transition over to a newer platform. Yeah, so I think that answers your question. It's not this grand, like no one's going to quit their job and just become podcaster. It's not that kind of money. All right, moving on. Voxelden writes, looking forward to doing some org combat missions against these new AI types and new environments. Dumb question. Will the AI in Stanton be updated when 4.0 releases as well? Great episode as always. Thanks for your comment. I appreciate that. AI... Of course, again, I'm not a developer for CIG, but AI is a blanket strategy, right? You set variables, contingencies based off of certain variables, right? Or scenarios, or whatever you want to call it. That usually is a blanket regardless of whether it's 4.0 or whether it's Stanton or Pyro or whether it's, all these other systems. You define what's called archetypes. So you define the archetype and then you assign who gets that archetype, and that archetype will react in certain ways. And in certain criteria, they will do different things. So my understanding, and I've been in game development for a little bit, before my current role, that's the best way I would describe it. It's scalable, it's sustainable. So I think any AI advancements that they make in Pyro or 4.0 would transfer over to Stanton for those reasons. All right, Prime Entity writes, I just thought, has anyone thought about how we are using Alpha United Earth credits? Excuse me. Next, we'll have Beta United Earth credits, or BUEC. It's interesting. I've talked about this before, not on podcast, but with my brother and with people in the organization. It's a UEC, and it's lowercase a, uppercase UEC. The alpha will go away. CIG has already confirmed it's UEC. It will be United Earth credits. But the beta United Earth credits implies that we'll have a beta. I do not think Star Citizen will go into a beta phase. I don't think it's an alpha phase, quite honestly. Again, in game development, if you define what alpha means, alpha is not a playable state of a game. It's not. Or if it is, it's a very, very, very small test group. When we were doing New World in Amazon Game Studios, the alpha testing was like 100 people. It was so small. It was such a small sample size. And then we opened it up to like Amazonians, so people who work at Amazon, and even they had to go through like a piping phase. So alpha is this very unique player base, and then beta usually is you say open beta. You've heard open beta before. So usually you open up the beta to like more play tests, and then you get into the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands in the beta testing, and then you have a beta 1, beta 2, beta 3. Usually, I think CIG needs to find its identity, because they say it's playable. If you go to their website, it says play now. They market Star Citizen as a playable game. So calling it an alpha, when literally anybody can play, it's not gated. Anybody can go to the website, spend $35-$40 on a starter, and have access to the game. Anybody. Is the game live? I mean, hell, they even call it the live PU, the live persistent universe. That's the name of our server. So, or the name of the build. I don't think we go to beta. I don't think we ever call it beta. I don't think it becomes beta United Earth credits or the BUEC. I think the next iteration of Star Citizen is 1.0, is live, right? My 2 cents. Dakota Riley. I am hopeful that 4.0 is just around the corner, and I think Evocati release by the end of this week or next week would bode well for a release ahead of CitizenCon, something I feel they need to do. However, they've indicated multiple 324X patches. While progress on one doesn't hinder progress on the other, the disclosure of that intel does make me believe we won't see 4.0 until November or December, where we get the Polaris and Zeus at IAE. I hope I'm wrong, and we still get 4.0 at CitCon. Yeah, I mean, I don't think every comment needs me to respond to it, but I think that's right. So the Evocati release for 4.0, that didn't happen at the end of this past week, and it won't happen. I think the next today, and we'll go through the patch notes here in a second, but today they said they're going to aim for the tech preview channel, which is the RMQ meshing communications. That's not Pyro. That's just the tech, the support Pyro. I think that's going to happen this weekend. So the tech preview this weekend, we might see 4.0 and Evocati next week. We might, but they are so close to 4.0, and there's even like tweets and snippets of comments in Spectrum by CIG developers. We are so close. Why would they necessarily go through Evocati? It's already been through Evocati. If you go back to earlier this year where they were testing jump points, like the tech has already been tested by Evocati. If they put 4.0 in the hands of Evocati, it's more testing. That's fine. It's for those content creators to produce, hype. Like there's reasons for all of it. I would personally think it's the tech preview channel to get obviously the tech out of the way. And then I think it goes straight through to the PTU. or the tech preview channel for 4.0. I don't think it goes through Evocati, in my opinion. All right, freaking Groza. We're going to end with Groza. All y'all talking shit on the Peregrine. I love it. It is so beautiful and flies so smooth. Not everything needs the ability to nuke Jumptown. Did you see the mech battlesuit drama? I'm very glad you have the videos on Spotify. The video component adds a lot. Please keep doing that. Love Groza. Hey, thanks for writing this, man. So the Peregrine, whatever. I mean, it's growing on me in aesthetics. Like if I ever do get into racing, I can see the Peregrine being a phenomenal vehicle by all means. It is beautiful and it does fly smooth. But you're right. Not everything has to nuke Jumptown. Not everything should be an A2, right? A2, A1. Not everything needs to, be this powerhouse. And not every ship needs to do it all, right? I kind of like having the specialized ships, right? Should the Peregrine be able to take on, ERTs? Probably not. Probably shouldn't be able to. That'd be ridiculous. So I don't know. I like talking shit about the ships. One, because I'm a podcaster and I need to entertain. But two, I do have some passionate opinions about some of the direction of ship manufacturers and like the Peregrine. It is so specific. Like we talk about uniqueness. There's probably nothing more unique, like so specific as the Peregrine. Like even the Vulture has a way to defend itself, right? Like a salvaging ship that has no business being in combat has the ability to defend itself. Cool. Did you see the mech battlesuit drama? All right, so a couple of days ago, Star Citizen tweets, one of their soon trademark tweets, and they tease out a character getting into a mech suit. I don't necessarily know what Groza means by the drama necessarily, but it did. It created this huge hype. A lot of people are into the mech world, and I don't want to insult anybody by saying anything specific, right? Like there are many different versions of mech sci-fi. I'm sure that alone is insulting people. But I think it's I think it's interesting. Like, what's the purpose? What's the purpose of it? We already have exosuits, right? We already have light, medium, heavy armor, right? We already have like the Novikov, like these massive suits that are very specific for weather or for purpose. Like we already have all of that. We already have grav guns, whether it is the one-hander or the two-hander. So why would we need a mech suit other than it's badass and why not? It is interesting. So Ollie on Twitter, Ollie posted, obviously the video and noted that the thing's called an Atlas. So ATLS, it's on the back leg and you can see ATLS written on it. So Atlas. And so, you kind of, I don't know, you can translate that and try to come up with your own, what does that stand for? What does the ATLS stand for? I think he called it, what did he call it? The Argo TS lift system. The Argo something lift system. He said something like that. And so maybe for cargo, maybe for moving things around. I think it's a cool concept. You already have all these other methods to do it. So is it just an aesthetic or is there an actual purpose? Otherwise, the other side of that coin is feature creep. Of course, you're going to have half of the community get up in arms about, well, man, if we could just play a playable game, if you could just fix the servers, if you could just fix what currently exists in the game, we don't need mech suits yet. All of it's valid. all of the emotional feedback is valid. At the same time, it's like, let CIG walk and chew gum at the same time. They might be stumbling. They might be tripping over themselves, but let them chew gum at the same time. I think you have teams. You have the ability to disassociate, to detach, decentralized command, whatever you want to call it. You're able to do multiple things. Like, I don't think a small team that's working on the mech suit has anything to do with server meshing or, something else up or downstream from the process. So, all right. As normal, we go straight into emails, and we do have two emails. I'm going to start with Groza's first. Groza. So last night, again, we had Org Night. So we had Org Night last night, and that's where, my team lit me up for saying that no one cares about paint. It was funny. It was a really good exchange. Well, Groza decides at midnight, this is 8 hours ago, so midnight, Groza is still awake, still fuming, sends me an email and says, literally all of my ships have multiple paints, with a bunch of angry faces. I think I addressed it already, Groza, but I know you do, and you take amazing screenshots and all of that fun stuff, so don't hate me. Good Lord. All right, next we have Prime Entity. So again, thank you so much for engaging in yet another email. She writes, or Anna writes, here we go. First off, thanks for the podcast. Next, I want to talk about CitizenCon. It's annoying because their CIG are trying to sell tickets, then charging more than the previous ones. People probably won't buy them if you overprice them. You say, quote, if you're kicking yourself for not getting one before they've been restocked, end quote. This would work if they made the tickets like 20% cheaper, but they made it like 14% more expensive. I don't do marketing, so I can't be 100% correct. I could be 100% incorrect with all of this. And then also when I say commission, I mean tell me a ship or location from Star Citizen and I'll make it in my style. For instance, the Avenger, Titan, Renegade below. And so I will go ahead and share that picture real quick and I'll respond. Boom. Love the Avenger Titan series, all of them. The Warlocks, Renegade, all of them. I love the Titans. It's a great starter ship. But this is a phenomenal image. Yet again, Prime Entity, solid work. I did a couple of minutes of research before, and I mean that like maybe 5 minutes. I didn't go too deep, but I wanted to check on the information. Right now, the base CitizenCon ticket is $250, $250. Now you can't get the premium anymore, but it was $350. So you had $250 and $350. I could not find where the cost of the base tickets were like 5 months ago. So whenever they first went on sale, I don't have that information, so I can't confirm or deny what Prime Entity said, but the current state of the pricing of the tickets, $250, this is US currency, $250 for the base if you are still wanting to go. So the marketing piece. So again, I am very attached to TwitchCon. That's Amazon, right? So TwitchCon and what we do with that from a operational standpoint. And yeah, I mean, your prices, when you get closer to an event, they could go up or down for different reasons, right? If there is a high demand and you're trying to say, all right, so we have 100 tickets left, we're going to go ahead and raise it, 10%, 20%, whatever it is, because this is it. The demand is there, right? The demand is there. We're going to really push it forward and maybe add a couple of extra items. Hey, last chance to get XYZ, and if you buy now, we'll add in, ABC. But then more than likely, it's the opposite. More than likely, they get closer to the event and there's open seats, and they're just trying to get butts in seats. They're trying to get a full crowd so that, $250 ticket should be dropped down to like $225 or $200. Hey, get this while they last. This is your last chance. Whatever. So there's reasons why you would increase towards the end of the event, or towards the end of, I guess, as you get closer to the event, or why you would decrease as you get closer to the event. Can't speak to CIG's marketing, have no idea. But again, I can't confirm that it was actually cheaper whenever they first went on sale a couple months ago. So sorry, I can't dive too much deeper into that, but I don't know, hopefully I addressed a little bit of that. Cool. All right, I think we're good there. Let's get into this week in Star Citizen. So this has been a fun one. A lot of kind of in the background, behind the scenes, like news. So things that aren't necessarily in your face, like the new RSI launcher or the new website. But we'll go through all of that now. So here we go to the article, sharing my screen for those of you on YouTube. Hello, everyone. We recently released Star Citizen Alpha 324 Cargo Empires to the live servers alongside a series of hot fixes, with more fixes to come. This patch includes a wealth of updates to the verse for cargo haulers and citizens everywhere, including freight elevators, persistent hangars, and all new missions. Our teams are now focused on addressing the top issues reported by the community, so keep a close eye on Spectrum. We sincerely appreciate all of the support and feedback you've given so far. In the meantime, our largest event of the year is only 45 days away. Can you believe it? We'll touch down at Manchester Central on October 19th and 20th for CitizenCon 2024. And we can't wait to see you all there. Also, if you missed it, we recently restocked a limited batch of CitizenCon tickets. So they provide a link to go click on it. So if you were kicking yourself for not getting a ticket sooner, this will be your last chance. This is 100% what Prime Entity was talking about. In other news, we were thrilled to see so many of you at the PAX West Bar Citizen in Seattle this weekend, full of great conversation, friends, and giveaways galore. Thanks to all of you for being the best community out there, and we hope to see you all again soon. Next stop, Portugal, on Saturday, September 7th. Badass. And there's a picture of everybody. Get excited. All right, the bullet points. Tuesday, we have the CitizenCon digital goodies we'll go through. The subscriber promotions that we'll also go through. Wednesday, roadmap updates, Star Citizen monthly report, and the Squadron 42 monthly report that's emailed. Thursday, the Inside Star Citizen 4.0 creatures and characters. We had Jumptown also release. Then later today, after the recording of this podcast on Friday, will be the Star Citizen Live, the discussion with the Chief Technology Officer, and the RSI weekly newsletter as well. So there you go. Again, very busy on the back end of things. I was not able to go to Seattle, even though Amazon's there, and I probably could have easily swung visiting Seattle. I was not able to go. So I will see them next time they are in Austin. And if y'all are ever in Austin for Bar Citizen, let me know. I would love to meet you in person. Shake a hand, buy you a drink. It would be a lot of fun. Okay, we're going to start small. We're going to start small, not necessarily in sequential order, but we'll start small with the updates and the news releases, and then we'll end, obviously on a high note. But let's go through the RSI Launcher 2.0.3 release notes and the new website. Again, does this really impact you? Probably not. It's not like you're going to open up the launcher and be like, wow, I'm now more engaged in Star Citizen than I've ever been before. So it's not that exciting. Now the website is totally jacked up. It's going to take some getting used to, some learning. But we'll go through the release notes for the 2.0.3, which essentially the new feature is accessibility settings to reduce motion. I mean, that's it, right? Fixed issues not meeting OS minimum requirements will no longer prevent download and launch of the game. Scroll bar behavior is improved. Generic installer error. I will say this. So my brother was late to the launcher updates. And so I think he did a batch update for like 2.0, but he missed like 0.1, 0.2, and I don't know if he's updated to 0.3 yet or not. And it was difficult for the updates to read appropriately. So he would launch like 0.2, he would launch it, but it wouldn't register, it wouldn't read the right files. And so what made it work, and my advice to anybody listening, if you're late to the update, just do a clean wipe. I know it's a little longer, you have to download the game again, all 100 gigabytes of it. But what helped with that issue is just wiping everything Star Citizen clean. Like I would save your settings. Like I would save, like if you have joysticks and key configurations and all that, I would save that in a separate file somewhere else so you don't have to redo it. But wipe everything else and just start from scratch. It's a massive change. And so I think that may be why those updates are not talking to each other. But I wanted to show y'all the actual website experience. So I opened up a new tab. This is it. So it's not new in the sense of like, I don't know, from what you're looking at down. So you still have like your main news that are up the very top. When you scroll down, it's high level information. It's like none of this is necessarily new. But what is new is the header. This control, like, I don't know, in development we call it the controls. But these filters or links to other pages, this is completely different. And it's very hard, again, for content creators that go into the Galactopedia to get information or ship information or the ship matrix, or even if you're just a buyer, like where's the pledge store? So again, if you're looking at the screen, whether it's on Spotify or on YouTube, if you're watching the screen, it's kind of confusing if you have prior knowledge of the old system. And I know why they did this. They did this because of Squadron 42. And this plays into the title of today's episode, right? The final stretch. I can see this being the final layout when Squadron 42 launches. So you come up here, highlight over games, and you have Star Citizen and Squadron 42. It's a very clear, like, differentiation between, like, this is the Star Citizen experience, and if you click over here, this is the Squadron 42 player experience. So I see why. The games, you have these two, they have it open up for 3, 4, 5 games if there's going to be different games that CIG produces. I have no intel to say that that's accurate, but they've opened the door to have a good way to filter which player experience you want. And then you go to the shop, and then again, you've got the Star Citizen shop and the Squadron 42 shop. So that's interesting. That maybe, like, hints that Squadron 42 is going to have its own pledge store. But right now, it just links to the Squadron 42 information. But within shop, there is your pledge store and becoming a subscriber and access to the merchandise. But even then, like, where are the extras? I have the answer. I'm going to show you. But, like, where are the extras? It was very easy for me to go to extras, sort by the most expensive or least expensive, and be able to kind of comb through everything. And this isn't necessarily that easy. Under Explore, that is where you find your comm links, your patch notes, Galactopedia, the ship matrix, roadmap, dev tracker, all of that. So Explore is where I'm going to spend most of my time, as well as in the community for Spectrum. So I get a lot of my patch notes, a lot of my previews for, hot fixes. I get all of that from the Spectrum link here. So Explore and community is where you're going to spend most of your time as a creator. And then support is exactly what it sounds like. Help center, file tickets, whatever. So let's go through the shopping experience. So I go to shop, I click on pledge store. And again, what I do, I go to shop, pledge store, but then there was like a sub controller or shoveler or, filter where I clicked on extras, and that would be, it puts everything in the pledge store where you can sort by price or whatever. It's not here anymore. So you scroll down, here's your game packages, ships, merchandise, and then you find extras tucked away in this bottom right-hand corner. So basically all the way down to the very bottom far right, here's your extras. And so what I do is I click on extras. This is, again, what I do. I go to extras, I hit price. I sort by price because, again, most of the time we're buying ships. We're not necessarily buying, like, the one pistol. So I sort by price, and now I have access to, here's the A2 Hercules all the way down, right? This is good for when you're trying to get a limited hull ship, right? Be in extras, because again, everything is in extras. So do it by price, and then type in, like, the 890 here. And then, like, if I put 890 here, nothing's going to show up. But the moment, like, 11 a.m. hits and the 890 jump goes for sale, I'm going to refresh my page, and it's going to be here regardless. So again, I live in extras. I found extras. So I would recommend just going through this and getting used to it. Everything is still there. The functionality, it's all still there. It's just in a different layout. So again, whether you're just a gamer or whether you create content, it's going to be a little wonky for you up to that point. It's also impacted Star Jump. So Grim, or Star Jump Grim, they had an issue with the hanger link in the Fleet Viewer because the API, or what their website talks to CIG's website, what they communicated or how they communicate, it got jumbled up because of this change. And so Fleet Viewer and Hanger Link is paused at the moment, and they're working very hard to get it up and running and back again. But it also has, like, up and downstream impacts as well. But overall, aesthetically good. I see its purpose and how it opened up the door for Squadron 42 and future games. I like it. I'm bitching about I'm bitching about how to find information now. Not a big deal. Okay, let's go to the CitizenCon 2954 goodies pack. And again, I don't subscribe to the drama here. every year there's a goodies pack. Not everybody can make it to Manchester. Last year, not everybody could make it to Los Angeles. So they offer a virtual pack. Is it worth $30? I don't know. Probably not. In my opinion, it's expensive, but you're getting a lot. You're getting a lot for $30, but even that's relative. So a lot to somebody is maybe not a lot to another. So here's the picture. You can see all the items, depicted here. If you see a new piece of gear, that's what it is, right? So let's just scroll down and I'll read this verbatim to you. CitizenCon 2954 is just around the corner, and what better way to celebrate than aboard an active duty RSI Bengal themed venue? This year, the UEE is opening its doors to citizens from across the verse, inviting you to step onto its iconic vessel in person for a weekend packed with presentations, activities, giveaways, cosplay, and so much more. Why is the UEE hosting this year's event? It all ties back to the celebration of Citizen Day, which you can learn about here in the Galactopedia. Can't make it to Manchester for the main event? No worries. You can still join the fun. We're excited to bring back the Digital Goodies Pack, filled with exclusive content to get you into the CitizenCon spirit. This year's pack includes all the digital items that come with the CitizenCon 2954 ticket, with 2 of them being revealed and developed live during the event. The Goodies Pack includes the CitizenCon 2954 trophy that will be developed live at CitizenCon, the CitizenCon 2954 challenge coin, a redacted item that will be developed live at CitizenCon, and a second redacted item. CitizenCon 2954 themed storage chest, an Omni AFS Sapphire armored flight suit, an Omni AFS Sapphire helmet, a P8AR, quote, CitizenCon 2954, end quote, rifle, a P8AR, quote, Blackguard, end quote, rifle, CitizenCon 2954 themed double bed UEE black box, and CitizenCon 2954 themed Spectrum badge. Things that stick out to me. So the redacted items, those are always fun. I mean, it's never anything like, let's just, again, this is a $30 package. It's not like a redacted item is going to be, an Idris, right? It's not a ship. It's not a ship. So it's going to be something you can put in your hanger. Maybe it's a poster. Maybe it is a designed, like on a table or something. It's going to be something for your hanger more than likely. So why they redact? I mean, obviously that's probably like a hype thing. It's probably just to build, conversation around it. So I wouldn't get too hung up on the redacted item. I think it's interesting that they're developing it live at CitizenCon. My question would be for those that can't make it, right? They just spent a narrative talking about how not everybody can make it to Manchester. So will people participating virtually be able to contribute in the development of those items? I'm curious about that. I don't know. There's no answer. There's no hint at an answer to that. But, well, actually, maybe so. At the very bottom, it says, please note, several items in the digital goodies pack will be crafted live on the CitizenCon show floor with your input. I mean, I would still ask if there's a way virtual participants can impact or influence, but it sounds like you have to be in person to influence. The other thing is like the double bed. Okay. So does that mean I can log out in my hanger? Right? Like if I decorate a section or a corner of my hanger and I spend all this time getting a couch and table and chairs and posters, give me a bed, and then can I then log out of my hanger? Otherwise, what's the point of the bed? Like, I know it's an aesthetic, but what a weird thing to add on. You have a couch, table, chairs, kind of a kitchenette, bar scene, if you will, then a freaking bed. Okay. I don't know how many man caves or how many bar settings include a bed, unless there's a functionality, right? Like unless there's a functionality of being able to log out of your hanger. I just think that's kind of an interesting question as well. Is like where does the double bed come from? How is it used, or how will it be used, right? Okay. Like with all like marketing announcements, there's a Spectrum announcement to go with it. This is a copy and paste. There's nothing new. I just wanted to show y'all that this exists. So in the announcement sections of Spectrum, it's the same information. The premium digital goodies pack. So if you're attending and you spent $350, you get an additional P8 AR rifle. It's called base. And then a UEE pennant flag. So you get 2 additional items. I don't know if that's worth another $100. So you got to question whether or not the premium was worth it. But I would say the Spectrum is again for additional information usually, but it's also if you wanted to add context or content. Of course, Spectrum threads are there for you to respond to with a comment section. So what are your thoughts on CitizenCon? Specifically the goodies pack. Is it worth it? Did you get one? I don't know. I did. I went ahead and bought it, but I'm also, I don't know, concierge level. Like, what's another $30? I haven't spent a lot of money on Star Citizen this year, like I have in the previous couple years. So $30 I can easily shovel out. So supports the game, supports the project, and it's additional items that you can't ever get after this event. Like you won't be able to get a CitizenCon 2954 themed anything after this year. So why not? Why not get the exclusivity of the items now, right? All right, let's transition into patch notes. Again, we started low. We're going to go high. So patch notes, I just wanted to share, again, in the United States, we had a 3-day weekend. We launched, and my timeline might be a little bit off. I think I'm right here, but we launched 324 last Wednesday. I think it was last Wednesday night because I remember the org having, that's correct. Last Wednesday night it launched. That Thursday, my org night did a personal hangar party, which was a blast. And then it all went to hell. Like 324 was broken. You couldn't call shifts, couldn't participate in cargo hauling for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I think even into Monday. You had like 3 or 4 days worth of no one playing it. I went to go play No Man's Sky, which is a phenomenal game, by the way. But I went to go play No Man's Sky. My brother went into other single-player games. We kind of took a break from Star Citizen, but I watched the patch notes very closely because I was waiting. Like, I can't wait until cargo hauling got addressed because I've been waiting for this patch forever. This is my game loop. Like, this is Soul Provision's game loop. They were very hard at work. And again, as a community, we can hate CIG, and there's a lot that do, okay? Like, we can hate and hate and hate. And it's easier to hate than it is, to actually build up and support. But, I mean, look at my screen. In the last 9 days, we'll go back to 7 days. So they released 324 9 days ago. But in the last 7 days, we've had 4 hot fixes. Now, did it solve every single problem? No. We still have some issues. Last night's org night, when we did cargo hauling, I mean, there's some rough edges to cargo hauling. They still exist, and they know they still exist. They've already said that there's going to be 324.x's. There's going to be a .1, .2, .3, right? We already know that there's going to be additional patches. But 4 hot fixes went in the last 7 days, and it's now very, very playable. I would recommend anybody listening to this podcast getting into 324 now is a great idea. It's a great idea. You're going to be able to mess around in your personal hangar. You're going to be able to do cargo hauling missions, but just like any other year in Star Citizen, shit's gonna break, and you gotta be okay with it. You have to be okay with it. You're gonna go to the ASOP terminal, and you're gonna try to call in a ship, and it's gonna be jacked. Log out, log back in. Unfortunately, some of the solution is doing character resets, right? Sometimes character resets will fix a lot of the issues. That might be my first recommendation. If you had a lot of issues when 324 first launched, and you still have a lot of issues, just proactively go in with a character reset and start from scratch. I would highly recommend doing that route because you might have something persisting. You might have an issue with your account that is persisting, like some 60K or some nonsense, right? But 4 patches in the last 7 days, I appreciate CIG. Not white knighting them, not whatever name you want to call me. I appreciate the hard work that they put in for 7 days. They have a lot of work to still do. No one's going to argue that. CIG won't argue that. There's a lot of work needing to be done in 324. But I think, I don't know, I think we're in a really good place. I think now, maybe like a relaunch of 324 would be a good idea. But I think now is a good time to say, hey, 324 is ready to come in. It's safe to come in and play. But I just wanted to highlight that. I'm not going to open up the hotfix notes. They fixed a lot of back end stuff. There's nothing really like crucial to read. Like I'm just kind of skimming over it real quick to see if it's all back end stuff. It's all addressing like 30Ks in the back end of ASOP terminals and, selling, ores at kiosks. I don't know. It's all back end stuff that was accumulating a lot of issues for a lot of players. So thank you so much, CIG. For those of you out there in the community, I hope the game is working for you. I hope you're in a good place. It was really fun last night. Our org had a great time. Hopefully you are as well. Okay. Roadmap roundup. Okay. All right. Usually this is groundbreaking. Usually this is a highly debated thing every 1 or 2 weeks, right? Every 1 or 2 weeks. So for this one, I thought it would be good. I saw this roadmap roundup and was like, all right, like let's get excited. And people are still bitching on social media. I'm exhausted, guys. And if I'm exhausted, I can't even imagine how CIG's feeling. And I know this is their job and they're getting paid to do it, but this has got to be exhausting for them. But good Lord, Roadmap Roundup announced that they're releasing the Zeus early. So the RSI Zeus Mark II ES and CL was scheduled for 4.0, and they moved it up to 324. So in one of the .x patches, we will have the RSI Zeus Mark II ES and the CL. So, again, I love that. Awesome. If the shit's ready, get it out the door, right? The RSI Zeus Mark II is ready, and they're like, hey, let's just push it forward. But the emotional response, the negative response to this was, well, why are they doing it? Are they doing it because 4.0 is going to get pushed back even more and they're trying to keep the hype until, CitizenCon or until IAE? My God. Like, I hope you're not married. Like, how depressed do you have to be? Because there's no intel. It would be different if I could justify their anger. If I could find the source of their anger and say, okay, this is legit. You can be pissed off. Absolutely. I would empathize with those emotions. But there is nothing that's indicating that 4.0 is getting pushed back even more. They've already pushed it back to Q4. But I don't know. Like the signs and the conversation that I'm a part of. So whether it's reading into CIG or having conversations with a few of the CIG individuals offline or really anything else, they just have to fix the tech. And that tech preview channel is happening today, potentially. Today. And it's just now September 6th. Q4 is October. So we could be 3 to 4 weeks away from Pyro. But everybody wants to say, it's December 31st. Q4 has to be the end of Q4. What if it was always scheduled for the 2nd or 3rd week of September, but they just needed to push it back 1 week? What if? What if it's the 1st week of October? What if we're 4 weeks out? Like, it is so much more peaceful. Is it oblivious? Is it, I don't know what adjective you want to use here. Is it stupid to be more optimistic than to be pessimistic? I just got news that the RSI Zeus is going to come out early. Hell yeah. That Zeus Mark II CL is going to be an everyday fly. It's going to replace the Crusader C1. So right now the Crusader C1 is hands down everybody's everydayer. That is going to be replaced immediately when the RSI Zeus Mark II CL comes out. Can we not just be happy and excited for an early release of 2 ships? But the anger about 4.0 and where we're at with that has superseded this excitement for having ships early. So I'm happy about the roadmap update. I would say the majority of Soul Provision and those that I play the game with, I think we're all very excited and happy with the Zeus Mark II coming out early. But I wouldn't be doing my due diligence as a podcaster if I didn't bring up the other half of the community that's upset that this is some indicator that they're pushing back 4.0 even more. All right. I don't want to belabor that anymore. I've said my piece. I try not to vent on podcasts. I recognize that I won't share the exact same ideas or feelings of my listeners. So I want to make sure I don't alienate some of my base. But I just like emotion. You're never wrong in how you feel or how something makes you feel. I've said that before on my podcast. And I mean this like now we're going really beyond the verse. You're not wrong in how you feel. Whatever makes you feel right. But I think what you can control is what you do with that emotion. I tell this to my son and daughter all the time. Your feelings are valid. Absolutely. But what you choose to show is 100% on you. 100%. So you can be mad, but if you choose to show that it didn't faze you, it didn't affect you, you're going to be a freaking baller in school when someone tries to hurt your feelings and you're just like, cool. Yeah, I agree. I think I'm an idiot. I thought Terra, had to do with Earth. What a freaking idiot, right? Play into it. You might get hurt, you might get upset, you might get frustrated, but what you choose to do with that emotion is all you. And I think somebody needs to hear that today. I feel like you're mad, you're angry, 4.0, CIG's lying, I want my money back, like whatever. Let's get all angry about it. Go over to No Man's Sky. I don't know, alt tab for a little bit. Take a breath. Like play another game, get into it. And we do this all the time. We do this like every other episode. But go play Grand Theft Auto 5. Like go play Cyberpunk, Red Dead Redemption 2, some of these like amazing games. Kill time until 4.0 comes out. No one's making you play the game. I would love to keep you as a listener, and maybe you keep listening to me, in between the games that you play, but just be happy we're getting more ships soon. Roadmap update. Subscription promotions. Let's go. I love you guys. All right, subscription promotions. It's a pirate's life. Let me just stay here. I don't think I need to read the article to you. I think they're a month early. So this is awesome. It's furniture. So they're obviously playing into the personal hangers. They're playing into 324, clearly. So you get a table, a couch, a chair, but they're all like pirate themed. But I say that they're a month early because I think this would be an amazing like Halloween, like October subscription promotion, just because of the color scheme, the aesthetic, and what it feels like. But you get this. You're looking at it on my screen. So you're getting a couch that has the upholstery that's the skull, the pirate skull. You get a table with the pirate skull, and you get a chair with the pirate skull. I think they look badass. I think they're phenomenal. My advice, don't do a damn thing with them. It's just going to piss you off. Don't do it. Don't go to your personal hanger and try to make things look pretty and put things around and compete in this hanger contest. Don't do it. Things are going to glitch out. Your shit's going to start shaking and you're going to be upset. Just don't. Let it sit in your hanger, like your virtual hanger. Let it sit in your virtual hanger. Don't touch it until they fix personal hangers. But it looks cool. All right, here we go. The Salvaged Skull Lounge Chair. You're seeing it on the screen. This is your Centurion level subscription. It looks like... Let me read this on. So it looks like... it says Salvaged Skull Lounge Chair. It's not a lounge chair. It actually looks like a cockpit chair. Like the RSI or the Drake, cockpit chair. pilot chair, whatever. It even has like the belt buckles or the straps, like to strap you in. It's got the in between your legs, the emergency release lever. It's got a space for that as well. And I just realized that pantomime I just did is probably really bad for video. But the pull lever that's between your legs, this is more of a pilot chair, not a lounge chair. So I think the naming is a little bit off there. And then we have the Skull couch. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a 3-seater, and they have the upholstery that's emblazoned or designed with the pirate skull. That is Imperator level. And then we have the pledge store, so you have to go in and buy this, but we have the salvaged skull table. So go in and buy it. You have the table, and then you have the packs. I think this is maybe it's not the first time. It's the first time it's laid out in this way, but there's levels of packs that you can get, which is like more of one thing. So you can get all 3, called the salvaged skull parlor set. That's the table, the couch, and I'm going to say a pilot chair. But then you have the clandestine meeting set. It's the table with 4 of the chairs. And then you have the salvaged skull relax to the max set. And that's everything. It's the table, 4 chairs, and a 3-seat sofa or the couch. So that's the first time it's been laid out in this way. I think they've done packs before in the subscription promotions before. But let's just look at the pricing real quick. So the chair alone is $5. The couch alone is $9. The skull table is $7. But then you get into the packs. So the parlor set is $16.80, so we'll say $17. The clandestine meeting is $20, and the whole thing, the table, 4 chairs, and couch, $25.20. So pretty expensive if you want to look at it that way. But I'm gonna say this one last time: don't touch it. Buy it, put it in your hanger, like your virtual hanger. Do not try to make your hanger sexy. All right, vehicles of the month. It's Fury. All right, all the Furies. So you've got the Fury, you've got the Fury LX, and then you've got the Fury MX. So you have the base, the racer, and then the missile variant. Cool. I think that's everything. Reactions to the overall, I love the aesthetics, and I think with the launch of personal hangers, that just opens the door for so many different types of subscription promotion items, right? I think the flare is going to get better. Beds, I can see like a double bed system, like bunk beds, and I can see obviously the low-hanging fruit would be posters on walls. Several months ago we had potted plants. Like I can see those really picking up. I love the design. I'm always black and red. That's my color scheme. Black and red is my thing. If I can make all my ships look like an A2, right? Like the base color is black with red highlights. Over in No Man's Sky, I modify all of my ships to be a base black coat with a red highlight. It's sick. I love that combination. Yeah, I like the design on this promotion. And put a skull, put anything death related, like I'm game. That is absolutely a niche of mine. So make it dark, make it look violent. Hell yeah, you got me on board. All right, quickly before we get into Inside Star Citizen, we have Jumptown. Who cares? There's my emotional. There's my emotional response for Jumptown. I don't give 2 shits about Jumptown. It's the same damn thing. It's the same thing over and over again. I can't imagine that this is drawing in high numbers. It's the same thing. If this is your first time listening, or if you're curious what Jumptown is, it's a fun event. I mean, it is. You get an org together, you get 10 to 15 people together. It is a shitload of fun. It is a lot of fun. But if you're a solo pilot and you're trying to experience this, you can get frustrated pretty easily. More times than not, you will try to partner with individuals in general chat, and you'll go there just to be turned on and killed. So there's kind of a little toxic approach to it as well. So go with friends. Try your best to go with friends. Join an org. Go with your org. But it is fun, right? There's There's a lawful and an unlawful path to it. So let me share my screen. I realized I wasn't doing that. There's the lawful, which is you're going and you're gathering contraband to bring back to like a Seraphim station or to like a lawful area. Or there's the unlawful, where you're getting contraband and taking it to Grimhacks to sell on the black market. So either way, it forces PvP to happen. So you're all kind of you're converging into this one location, and it's a fun PvP event. But I will say, the fun that me and Soul Provision have had nothing to do with the actual stealing of the contraband. It's all the other stuff, right? It's the RP to get out there. It's the reconnaissance and surveillance. It's the setting up, flight paths. And when an enemy player shows up, like, what's your course of action? Like, what's your reaction plan? Like in Soul Provision, we set up quick reaction forces. I'm part of the reconnaissance surveillance team, so I get eyes on sight with my Eclipse, a stealth vehicle. I call into the org, hey, we're green, amber, yellow, red, whatever. Like, this is our status. We're coming in hot, or we're coming in, easily because no one's there. And then once you're there, we get, flight patterns. We get chalks set up. It's a lot of fun if you have an org knowing what they're doing. Let's take a look at the schedule. So again, this is September 5th through September 12th, and the location changes every 23 hours. There's 1 hour that it's down, probably because it's in the middle of changing, but that happens at 9 a.m. Pacific, so 11 a.m. Central or 4 p.m. UTC. With these types of events comes ships being available on the pledge store. So we already saw the A2 when I was going through my example or my demonstration, but one of the 16 is the A2. Let's just go quickly through the others. Avenger Titan, C1 Spirit, C2 Hercules, the Corsair, Cutlass Black, F7C Hornet Mark II, F8C Lightning, if you have the golden ticket. It's a whole nother conversation. The Gladius, the Nova, which, by the way, if you're going to keep Jumptown, if you're going to hold on to it, you're going to want ground assets. So maybe that's a Nova, maybe it's a Storm, but you want a ground asset to help out with the defense of that location. The Prowler, which I haven't heard it's been fixed yet, but that is a dropship, an alien dropship. I haven't heard it's been fixed. I would not spend $440 on it. But the Prowler, the Redeemer, badass vehicle, the Spartan, the Storm Alpha, the Ursa Medevac, and back at the A2. Alrighty. We have a 17-minute Inside Star Citizen to go through. And again, I haven't seen this yet. I'll be watching it for the first time with you now. And then we'll end with the Star Citizen Monthly Report. So kind of a longer podcast, but I've had a good conversation with myself. I've had a good conversation with y'all up to this point, so I don't regret it. But here we go, 17 minutes. This is Inside Star Citizen Alpha 4.0 Creatures and Characters. And again, we will end with the Star Citizen Monthly Report. So here we go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Inside Star Citizen. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee. On the show this week, cows. Space cows. An entire episode dedicated to cows. How are they going to do that? We have no idea, but I bet it won't be well. Enjoy. So, what is the space cow?
Like, hey Jared, can you give us 15 minutes on a cow? It's like it's always quasi or quasi, and everyone always says it differently because the Montreal guys are the character people, so they're always like, quasi, and we're like quasi. So the quasi guaza is
real quick, and they might, so first off, this is very misleading. Like, are we going to be able to create aliens at some point and play as aliens? This is a joke. This is what you're seeing right now is a joke. But these were first teased last year in CitizenCon. It was very awesome. It's the future of gaming video that went viral. But the camera is panning over a pasture. I think it's on Microtech. But it's panning over a pasture, and you all of a sudden see like the first life form. So before the little tiger thing, before the bird, we saw the cows first. And it was very awesome. It was really cool for everybody to see. This was also right after we saw, oh good lord, the sequence of events is off, but we also saw like the space whales flying around Orison. So it was kind of in the same time frame. Saw the space whales, saw the cows. So it's kind of this fun full circle. We saw this for the first time around a year ago. So here we go. That was so misleading. You cannot create cows.
Why do creatures matter? What do they add to our video game?
Well, this is a cow and it moves, so it's incredibly exciting. Creatures in general add believability to the world and the experience. And in general, when you're flying your ship or driving around, seeing fauna running around and just being in the world, it's like, oh cool, I'm actually like, you know, on a planet, I'm in an environment.
They present lots of opportunities for unique gameplay situations and allow you to see the landscapes perhaps in a new way. I think players are already really enjoying the creatures that we've got in the game.
The actual release was fine, but when we did the initial release into like PTU, there were problems with the creature desyncing and things like that, but we've been working on fixing that up and, you know, making sure that the creatures are responsive and, well, engaging, really.
The biggest challenge in programming creatures is bringing them to life, making sure that all the incredible animations that we've got are placed in the right way and that they're working together as this whole creature that's not just an individual set of animations, but something that's living and breathing. So the quasi-grazer is quite a simple creature. We kind of colloquially call it the space cow. We like to put space in front of every other creature. We've had the space dog and the space bird, and now we've got the space cow. It's got quite simple behaviors. They're very gentle creatures.
We look at how cows look, well, not how they look, but how they act, and, you know, they're space mooing and, you know, they're eating grass, they're roaming around in herds, and, well, except the main difference is that they have eggs, which is pretty gross.
Talk to me about space mooing. What's space mooing?
He wants me to do the noise, and I'm going to refrain. I'll let one of the audio people handle that. But what we always give direction to the audio team is just like, we'll be like moo, and then parenthesis like alien or space, just so they don't end up like, you know, just giving us a regular moo. Because, you know, cows actually have regional accents. So if you listen to a cow moo in the south of England or the north of England, they sound very different. So,
Moo!
yeah, moo. You're right, love, moo. What does a Stanton cow moo sound like versus, you know, like a Manchester cow moo?
We're getting off topic.
Yeah, we are. There are 5 different types of quasi-grazers in 4.0, and you'll see them scattered in various biomes. The desert variant of the quasi-grazer is the one you're all familiar with, that you've seen in like the Star Engine trailer.
I do love the diversity of one creature, right? So they're saying that the space cow, the quasi-grazer, has different characteristics, different traits per biome. I love that. I love that idea. I immediately just thought of like horses, right? The different breeds of horses in real life. Right, like a Mustang looks a lot different from other horses. I like the idea of having the diversity of one creature.
And it is going to be on Hurston.
It doesn't have fur. It's made for the desert, so it's more like a thick skin. It's similar to a cow, but it doesn't have horns.
It has a typical amount of eggs for a quasi-grazer.
What is a typical amount of eggs?
It is randomized, but there is like a typical medium that we go with. It's consistently inconsistent.
So some cows will have more eggs than others?
Yes.
Why?
because you think of like Spanish cows, right? They tend to be a lot skinnier than like North American cows because they like eat a lot more. They have access to like a lot more water, they've got a lot more food versus like hot areas.
Do you think this is a good use of your time, Zach?
I think I am sick at looking at videos of cows and sending them to animators and be like, no, the tail needs to move like this. The next kind is the boreal forest, which is quite nice as they are on Microtech. You'll see that it has hair around its neck and its faceplate is more pronounced. So they will be spawning near copions and near the Mareks as well. And if they ever end up crossing paths, there will be arguments between them. I don't think that the copions will loot the cow eggs, but it just means there's a nice systemic gameplay that you can come across where a copion has hunted a cow in this case. The grasslands version of the quasi-grazer, you'll see that they have darker fur and, in general, a more darker shade on their skin as well.
The grassland quasi-grazer looks more like a buffalo with the way its fur is made. Like the desert quasi-grazer, it also has eggs that you can loot.
They live in the savanna area of Microtech. And it will be joined by a jungle variant, which will be sharing the savanna for the time being. And lastly, the one I'm most excited about is the Arctic variant. You will find the tundra space cow in the tundra, the more cold areas of Microtech.
The Arctic space cow we did.
So just quickly, I love playing in Crusader. Like, that's my thing. I love Crusader. I love Orison. I love Seraphim Station. A lot of the internal lore we have for Soul Provision is based off of Crusader. There's not a lot of love for creatures in Crusader. Now, granted, Crusader is a gas planet, sure, like, duh, that makes total sense. But there's other planets in Crusader. Like, Microtech is where to go, and Hurston got the desert one, right? But Microtech is where all the life is going. The Copian, the Mareks, obviously here with these versions of the space cow, like, Microtech is kind of where you want to be if you want to see this new, gameplay. Are the new creatures.
Was one animal that we actually had to do fully covered in fur, which is quite a challenge. I remember Chris saying we want to see hordes of them passing by, so he's talking about 20 or 30 or even hundreds of them passing by, so it would have to be really optimized and at the same time would have to hit the quality bar. We managed to create a very interesting, fluffy creature that you're going to be able to enjoy very soon.
It's fully covered in hair and it's using similar tech to what we have on the human beings. You imagine like winds and when it moves and things like that, its fur is basically fully reactive to those elements. So it makes the animations come a lot more alive and it really shows how having these simulated elements on the creature using our hair tech is just gorgeous.
We're also very excited to see how this opens up a lot of possibilities and opportunities for the creatures in the future, as this was a breakthrough for us to be able to cover such a large creature with so much fur.
The ones with fur look really super cute. I think we want some tongue physics in there as well, because normal cows are quite licky.
Okay, the views and opinions of Andrew Davies do not represent those of Cladiperian Games, Robert Space Industries, or its subsidiaries. I'm having to say this too much lately.
Interestingly, it is the only variant without eggs, and instead you'll be able to loot this creature's tongue.
What?
Yeah, the tongue.
Andrew talked about the tongue. He wanted to add tongue physics.
Yeah, no, probably not. It'd be a bit weird. What noise does a tongue detaching make anyway? You know what I mean? Like.
Oh, you'll make that sound, but not the space move?
I'm not making an animal noise. It's not the weekend yet.
One of the really cool features we've got is that the creatures respond to the day-night cycle. During the nighttime, they're more likely to be sleeping, whereas during the day, they're more likely to be grazing.
It's a very non-lethal kind of set dressing for planets type of animal.
The real trouble comes if you disturb these gentle creatures by attacking them or as there's a hostile nearby.
If you are mean to the cows in any capacity, what they will do is the majority of them will run away. However, one will come and knock you over, and it will only do a small amount of damage. But you know, I would like to track the telemetry on how many people die to them, which would be interesting.
They can be quite deadly, as cows are in real life. 4 or 5 deaths in the UK every year by cows. So yeah, it's quite a dangerous creature if you raise its anger.
Do you ever consider making them mourn the death of another?
That's really depressing. One of my team is very, very keen to get petting of quasigrazers in there, but I think that's a whole other feature that I'll have to wait for another day.
Let us pet the cow. What happens if you are aggressive with the cow?
If you are aggressive to the cow, one cow will end up charging you and knocking you over. This episode is a show. Back to you.
Okay, this is this is too much. So Jared and team have had too much fun in this Inside Star Citizen. If you're just listening to the audio, well, first off, I paused this on an amazing image. But if you're just listening to the audio, they've rolled out a quasi-grazer on wheels. And then it just has a bowel movement all over the flowers behind it. Like, what? See, this is the joy that you have when you don't check comment sections and you don't, listen to the bitching every day. This is the content that gets created. I love it. Like, I love the sense of humor. We're getting into new character customization.
So for the next release, we're getting some new features for the character customizer that I think you're really gonna like. We're starting with some new hairstyles.
Let's start with the mullet. We're gonna have a new mullet. This mullet was designed to be really grungy and disheveled. Great to fit with the new pyro stuff. There's also a lovely twin braid that is just parted in the middle. It's an hairstyle that you can actually use to still be fashionable and practical because it's all tied up. Then we also have another style, which is a big curly hair. Very, very volumetric feel to it. It's quite amazing. It's going to be amazing to make it look with the hats and the masks and all that and the way it will fit. I'm pretty sure this is going to cause a great visual impact.
Additionally, for the next release, we're getting tattoos. Finally, you're gonna be able to give yourself that specific styling that you're not gonna match anyone else in the verse.
Love this.
The tattoo system is really great. You can select from a plethora of tattoos and you can adjust the colors so you get them just as you like them. And you can also set the age on them to make them look like you've had them for a long time.
For the tattoos on the first batch, we have a bunch of different styles. We have some organic tattoos, we have the tattoos of flowers, we have one that's more old school American style.
Like Pico, always a winner, right?
There's a Pico tattoo?
Oh, there's a Pico tattoo. He's gonna be surfing down everyone's necks. Get ready for Pico neck tattoo.
There's a Pico neck tattoo?
Oh yeah, that's the stuff.
That's what Cody wrote right there.
I don't even know what that is, but yes.
We have used a bunch of teams that are part of the game, like the creatures and the ships also. We have a tattoo for the Javelin, which we're showing different side of the ship. We have a tattoo for the Copian, which is more of the old school style. We have the Maroc, which has kind of a synthwave influence. We have one that's a full face skull. Also, I think this one the player is gonna like. still limited, but as time goes on, we plan to release more and more of these.
People should care about the tattoos because they let you personalize yourself and express yourself in a way that you couldn't with the previous features of the character customizer. It's always been about expressing yourself. That's the whole deal about it. But now this will allow you to get something printed on your face that immediately communicates something to other players about what you are about.
What does a face tattoo communicate about you to other people?
Lots of things. I've seen some stuff. In addition to the tattoos, we're also looking into piercings right now. We have 5 different areas that you can apply them to. We have ears, 1 and 2. We have eyebrows, 1 and 2, and the lower lip.
And nose.
We're also pursuing different piercing styles. So the simple one from an implementation perspective is studs. So we have a range of different stud piercings that you can apply. Rings are a bit more complicated, but because as you shape the face, the rings will have to deform as well as the face. So that might be a little bit longer. And last but not least, we're bringing a new stubble feature to the character customizer. Obviously, we have a huge selection of facial hair already, but now you can change them all to have a stubble built in.
Stubble that you can actually use with any other beard. So you can combine it with a longer beard or a mustache or something, just to give you that different look. We also have 2 new beards. One that is longer groomed, and one that is a bit shorter. It was important to add stubble just to give you a more realistic look for people that want to look like more like a fighter and less like a prince. So if you're looking for this pyro look or this look of you're a miner, you're a worker, you're something, then this is just going to give you the edge on your look.
So you just tick the box, stubble, and now you can add that to your sweet Abraham Lincoln beard that you love so much. So that's all of the new features for the character customizer for the next release. Sorry if we couldn't show you everything today, but we're working hard on it. I hope you are as excited as we are for these new features, and I hope you also feel that this is going to allow you to further show your own persona in the verse.
So, what did we learn this week? Well,
moo! Oh my, I like to moo so much. Moo moo.
Yeah, we're just out in the cold here, just doing cow stuff out in the cold.
Aye, we always moo like that and eat loads of grass, aye.
oh, it's so f***ing cold!
Moo. Skål för mjölk. Moo. Moo. I like that moo.
Jared m'a fait dire ces lignes, donc je dois dire le mot. Meu, sacre meu.
Oh my gosh. That has to be one of my favorite Inside Star Citizens to date. That's good. That's good. I love the humor. God, please have fun, guys. CIG, please just have fun. And I know that's like coming from somebody who's only been a backer for 3 years as opposed to 11 years. But man, like, keep your head above water. All right, let's end with the Star Citizen Monthly Report. This is the PU Monthly Report. We haven't read through this in a very long time, so you get to hear my voice for the next couple of minutes, but I think this is important. So let me share my screen. Actually, I'm going to go even larger. There we go. So you can see, like, everything. All right. I didn't get any like gold nuggets when I first read through. Again, I didn't read through the whole thing. I skimmed through it. Usually, there's a couple of sections that are more important than others, and those sections didn't have any groundbreaking, earth-shattering things to report. But I'm going to go ahead and read this all the way through. Next week, we will read the Squadron 42 all the way through because we are in the final stretch I'm defining the final stretch as the launch of server meshing in 4.0, because at that point, we procedurally generate all other systems or whatever that looks like, because there's a significant amount of systems, to launch. But once the tech is done, once Pyro is done, once they're able to prove the use case, we are very close to having a viable product. And then Squadron 42 is basically here. We've gone this past year through the polishing phase. We heard that last year in CitizenCon. This has been the polishing phase year. I still think CitizenCon is aboard a Bengal carrier. I'm telling you, Squadron 42 will be the CitizenCon kind of announcement. We'll have more than likely a play test, more than likely a schedule of when to expect Squadron 42 to hit the market. So I think we're in the final stretch. I think these monthly reports are super important to go through. Here we go. AI features. Last month, AI features polished various reactions, including the, quote, first reactions, end quote, when AIs respond to audio or visual events. While these behaviors had a solid base, various combat styles, weapons, and scenarios didn't play consistently, such as when escalating from a low reaction to a high reaction. To improve this, the team built a new AI test level called Test Cell. This is a building block setup with different character types, weapons, cover, usables, etc. that allows the team to pick and mix different setups to produce a consistent version of test scenarios. A particular combination can be exported as one cell and imported into a single level where multiple test scenarios can be played simultaneously, allowing the team to quickly identify mistakes, fix them, and retest. The test cell level is also being used to cover hit reactions, which have different animation setups per cover type, combat style, and weapon type. Going forward, the test cell will be expanded to provide more consistency across a wide range of areas. AI tech continued to improve how NPCs transition between servers, including serializing movement requests and navigation paths. They also updated navigation generation elements, including one relating to computing navigation islands and one used when exporting processes into object containers. Progress was also made on converting the Apollo Tools UI style. A new feature continued development too, which the team will share more about in the future. AI content. In August, the social AI designers joined the narrative team to form a larger group focused on improving the Star Citizen experience. As part of this, they began meeting with design and the creative directors to walk through various locations, looking for opportunities to clean up existing behaviors or add new ones. While many of the behaviors will be based on work done for Squadron 42, the expansive nature of the PU will require bespoke additions. AI content is also in the process of reviewing locations throughout Pyro, ensuring the environment and behavior setups work correctly together and instill a sense of the intended narrative. The team also met with the designers of an upcoming mission to provide support for some of the locations that will be visited by players, including applying believable behaviors to the NPCs. Aside from outlining behavior improvements and needs for the Star Citizen 1.0, the narrative design kicked off several initiatives to determine the required tech and use cases for future special spaces. This will ultimately lead to a vertical slice showing a gold standard social space with the level of interaction the game will aim for. AI Game Intelligence Development Team. In August, the Game Intelligence Development Team concentrated on delivering a clean and stable Apollo StarScript UX update. This involved adding support for higher icon resolution so they stay sharp when zoomed in, and straightening lines for a clearer read. Drag and drop was improved as well. Now, when hovering, ports with a bigger selection range are highlighted. The devs corrected the color and size of imported notes, added arrowheads to links leading to closed groups, and enlarged the hovering area and highlights on links and ports. Drop points were also added to the links to identify the desired select line. Here's the image. Animation. August saw the facial animation team developing content to flesh out more of the game world's characters. Gameplay animation continued to work on a selection of creatures previously seen in teaser videos, alongside improving the creatures already in the PU. They also progressed with an unannounced addition that the team is, quote, looking forward to seeing in game, end quote. That's interesting. Art characters. Character art continued working on utility and specialist armors, while character concept art supported IAE and progressed with their ongoing exploration of fauna. Ships. Last month, ship art moved several unannounced vehicles toward their gray box reviews, while others approached their LOD, or level of detail 0, and final content reviews. Work on the RSI Polaris also continued, with the ship's exterior approaching completion. It better be, because the Polaris is due in November. Community. In support of Alpha 324. We usually skip over community, just because we cover that every single week, and we cover it over on socials. So again, no offense, I love the community team. We're besties. All right. Core gameplay. Throughout August, the various gameplay feature teams continued to improve the hangar and cargo flows for Alpha 324 based on feedback from the PTU. Meanwhile, a lot of behind-the-scenes changes progressed that will improve how various gameplay systems handle environments that spawn multiple servers. Progress was made on the overheat mechanic, with core gameplay adding support for different atmospheric temperatures. For example, weapons will overheat at different rates based on the environment. Charge and drain progressed as well, and now features client-side prediction to give immediate feedback to players when they're charging or draining, even if there's latency between the client and server. The team began adding logic to declutter the UI by grouping markers of the same type, while the implementation of weapon groups and group presets continued. August saw continued progress on jump points, which began to improve debugging with improved debugging tools to better visualize potential exit points for players. Turbulence was also implemented, which will affect the flight experience within the tunnel. The designers are currently tweaking the strength to get the desired impact. Visual effects were added as well, including cockpit vibration based on where in the tunnel the player is located, and obstacles were placed that players will be required to navigate around. Further failure states for jump tunnels were determined before the feature was submitted to QA for testing. Progress was then made on the resource network, engineering gameplay, and live support. For example, core gameplay implemented a new behavior for critical components, which will replace the existing soft death mechanic. When live, only certain items like power plants will trigger an explosion or soft death when destroyed. The engineering screen was polished, while a new room selection UI was added for life support. The team also gave design the ability to control the total power output of multiple active power plants. This way, more power plants don't necessarily result in linearly increasing power production. Significant time was also dedicated to fixing stability issues and bugs following QA testing. July's work on radar and scanning continued throughout August, with the team reviewing it in Arena Commander to assess the impact on the player experience and tune values to achieve the desired effect. They also focused on closing out feature work for Delta signatures, giving design more control over how to react to changes. Tasks were completed for audio signatures too. Core gameplay continued supporting transit and the run-up to the live release, while adjusting how transit data is stored to lower the maintenance overhead on level design. Elsewhere, the team reworked the shot annunciator. It will turn red if someone targets the player and fires their weapon. Annunciators for weapons, power thrusters, and shields were completed, while overheating and off states were implemented. The ongoing mission system refactor progressed, with the team fixing various issues causing existing behaviors to break or function incorrectly. The mission system can now run in minimal mode, allowing it to be included in the seeding service and upcoming mission factory service, which generates contracts. Clients can now query available missions, and the contract generator can apply legacy settings to work with the previous systems too. Implementation of service beacons for the mission system refactor began, while core gameplay supported mission design on remaining blockade runner and cargo hauling issues. Developers working on cargo gameplay primarily focused on major remaining stability and gameplay issues. For example, they fixed several problems with the hangar instance queues getting stuck and players being assigned the wrong hangar. Functionality was also added to the instanced interior manager to better support removing non-active hangar instances. Several hauling mission bugs were solved relating to warehouse manager and freight elevator kiosk interactions, alongside issues with the kiosk transferring items on and off the loading platforms. We experienced that last night in Orgnite. Bugs were also fixed relating to the whole sea auto-loading, auto-loaded commodity transactions, and ship loading platforms getting broken by obstructions, with the fixes set to be implemented in the near future. Finally, for core gameplay, the devs spent considerable time reviewing internal and external feedback to plan further improvements to the features released in Alpha 3.24. Moving on to the next team. That was a lot. Economy. The economy team spent the month getting closer to uniting all their work into a cohesive economy consisting of ships, items, missions, fuel, consumables, freelancing, careers, and more. Progress was also made on the economy setup for Pyro. Again, more progress towards Pyro. Yes. Graphics, VFX, programming, and Planet Tech. Alongside the ongoing stability and performance improvements for Vulkan, the graphics team improved debug tooling for the long-term health of the dev experience. For global illumination, support was added for high-gloss specular reflections, which builds on the previous rough specular work. The team also added live updates to GPU ray tracing acceleration structures and began working on improvements to transparent objects. Performance-wise, the global illumination system now supports both temporal and spatial subsampling to accumulate the same visual results with fewer rays fired per frame. Ongoing tasks consist of async creation and additional types of destructible rendering objects, such as gas cloud chunks, to reduce frame time spikes on the CPU. For Planet Tech version 5, the team focused on enhancing terrain performance through a compute shader-driven pipeline that caches material attributes to reduce redundant computations. Alongside this, the revamped material scattering system now supports physically based distribution, allowing for denser biomes such as jungles and forests by eliminating distinctions between small and large mesh ground covers. A new per-object climate concept and new terrain attributes were introduced, including geology and soil maps. Planet Tech also spent part of August supporting the Montreal Tools team on the location scatter tool. For this, they provided a new terrain query API for large-scale queries and extended query capabilities, with future tasks aimed at supporting SDF-based terrain queries. Support for the live release included fixes for the invisible asteroid bug and other issues. Thank God. Following on the last month's report, the VFX team focused on fire hazards. The feature work is now complete, with focus shifting to bug fixing and design balance. Particle effect connections for jump tunnels were implemented. The devs are now focusing on polishing the visual effects and supporting graphics technology. The team also progressed with significant data conversion to add GUIDs, which will help the VFX artists manage particle effects more efficiently. Elsewhere, performance improvements are underway, including using multiple threads for particle updates and adjusting VFX regression tests to detect issues earlier. Interactables. The Interactables team spent time in August on items for Pyro mission content. Lighting. The lighting team continued to support multiple areas of development, including Pyro's space stations, acidic caves, and closeout work for Alpha 3.24. Locations. Last month, the Landing Zone team progressed with tasks for Alpha 4.0, including adding new areas and additional polish to Pyro's space stations. The Locations team pressed forward with ground bases, moving the initial modules through Greybox. Improvements were also made to several new location types, including with Pyro. Mission design, and we're almost done. Mission Design spent time in August updating the salvage mission archetype, enabling it to spawn ground panels and provide FPS gameplay at scrapyards. They also continue to work on the repair location missions recently shown on the, quote, social gameplay of Pyro episode of Inside Star Citizen. The team is targeting 3 main gameplay elements for the initial release. Number 1, charge and drain. Number 2, replace component. Number 3, repair pipe. The team also continued to design resource gathering, including determining which commodities buyers in Stanton would want extracting from Pyro. They are also expanding the mechanic to include FPS resource gathering, which will be the first step towards basic MMO-type fetch quests. Elsewhere, a new mission type progressed that the team will discuss in a future update. Going back to that last sentence, which will be the first step toward basic MMO-type fetch quests. I get it. I get it. So I love No Man's Sky. I loved my time in Elder Scrolls Online, World of Warcraft, but I hated the monotony and redundancy of fetch quests. And so, yes, you need it. Yes, it's time towards the game, achievement, economy, all of it. Like, I understand the purpose of fetch quests. I don't know. They just need to do it right. It's my same gripe with delivery missions, right? So not cargo hauling, but delivery missions, is having the same like mundane task to do over and over again. It's this idea of like, go mine, 100 ore of copper. It's just work, right? it's just work. So I hope they do this right. I hope they're really thinking about a new way of approaching fetch quests. All right, back to the article. Narrative. The narrative team spent last month working with design and branding to further develop the new contested zones and enhance the gameplay that players will experience there. The team also made improvements to the cargo hauling missions and continued work on unannounced mission content that will be coming to Stan and Pyro. The narrative design team focused on improving AI behaviors at settlements to give a more natural feel to the NPCs that players will encounter there. They also fleshed out the new social AI testbed. New lore was added to the website with a Whitley's Guide to the Cutlass Red and additional Galactopedia entries. Plus, there was a very special Star Citizen Live with the narrative team. Online technology. In August, the online services team progressed with features scheduled for Alpha 4.0. Significant progress was made on the updates for the mission and marker systems, and the team completed the new player trade service, which will allow players to trade game currencies in a server-meshed environment. Time was also spent testing and gathering metrics for a newly enabled EAC, or the anti-cheat feature, in Evocati and the PTU. Alongside helping to stabilize the Alpha 3.24 release, online services helped player relations unblock accounts with lingering login issues. Regarding live tools, the team met with the player support and player experience during a visit to the Montreal studio. Elsewhere, the architecture for the error reporting tool progressed well. And last, the VFX team. They continue their support for jump points and dynamic fire, both of which were shown in recent episodes of Inside Star Citizen. They also completed their work on acidic caves, 2 vehicles, and an unnamed energy weapon that has functionality not seen before in the PTU. Always work to read that whole thing to you, but I hope it's a better way of consuming the information than you having to go and read it yourself. I will say this once again. I'll say it again. This is why I do my podcast. The monthly reports on the progress of the development of this game. This is huge. I don't read that they're working on any massive blockers. The blocker right now is the tech behind meshing, server meshing, and that's just static server meshing. Then we got to get into dynamic server meshing, right? So we're not necessarily close to 1.0. I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon and be that much of a Copian, White Knight, whatever. I don't think we're close to 1.0, but they could launch 4.0 in the next 4 or 5 weeks. It could be December. It could be after IAE. It could. But I don't read anything here that they uncovered this massive project or they're working on something that's so groundbreaking that is beyond server meshing. So I read this, I get hyped. They mention things about new ships that they have unnamed and haven't released yet. They talk about different functionalities and mission loops, and the game is growing. It's ever changing, and that should be exciting to you. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Like, once this game launches, it's done. Like, the excitement of new things and feature creep and everything else that I actually think is a fun or a good thing. Once it releases, it is what it is. That is Star Citizen. Until the next patch or the next, massive expansion for Star Citizen, it's done. So finding out that they're throwing more creatures, finding out that they're, creating these other game loops that are going to be in Pyro, like around engineering, like, this is all new and exciting. It's fun. New ships, progress on the Polaris. Zeus is coming out early in 324. I think this has been a really great episode. I think it's been a fun one. I've tried not to vent so much. I try not to. But that's what you're going to get with a podcast, right? You're going to get my opinion as well. And you might not agree with it, and that's fine. Like, let's have an honest, open debate about it. Write me, right? Which goes to my outro. So if you want to become part of the conversation, please do so. Over in Spotify, I'll ask a poll. The comment section is wide open for anything that you want to put in there for us to discuss, or you can email us at contact@beyondtheversehq.com, and I'll read it. Good, bad, ugly, I'll read it all, and I'll tackle it the way I tackle things. So if you're listening and you like that, bring it on. Let's go. You can also watch our podcast. Yes, we have the video on Spotify, so I'll continue to do that. But if you want to, please go over to YouTube. Give us a like and subscribe. That's /@BTV_cast. We're on all socials, /BTV_cast. And if you want to become part of our in-game organization, Soul Provision, you can do so at www.robertspaceindustriescom /orgs/provision. So I hope this finds everybody well. I hope you had a really great week. I hope you're enjoying 324 and are the cargo hauling missions and everything else that you can get into with the latest patch. I hope this finds you well. Safe travels as you traverse beyond the verse. Take care, everybody.